You've got leads coming in, but instead of growing your business, you're drowning in follow-ups. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use Make.com and AI to build a lead nurture system that works 24/7 without you having to lift a finger. I know this system works because the client I built it for told me it handed them back an extra 12 hours to focus on actual meaningful human work instead of babysitting spreadsheets. In addition, this system brought in an extra $11,000 per month in revenue on average. So if you're a founder with too many leads and not enough time to juggle them all, this could be the simplest fix you never tried. So stick around, I'll walk you through exactly how it works. Okay, before I show you the Make.com scenario, I want to walk you through the process that my client was doing, and that way you can appreciate the automation. So they have a website, and the website has a contact form, and they would get leads all the time. Now, this particular company is a laser tattoo removal company, and so they would get leads at 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, all the time. In fact, they were getting on average 79 leads per month on average, which is great. It's a lot of leads, and that's a lot of phone calling and emailing and replying, and so they were drowning in leads, and they needed a better way to handle them. So the leads were coming into the website, and then the form data from the form was going to an email inbox. And then every morning, their employees would come in. We have Janet here, and Janet's job was to manually copy paste from the email into a spreadsheet, and then by default, the status of the new lead was need to book. Okay. And then Janet's job and all her other employees, they would then call these individuals and follow up with them. And he said, hey, looks like you got a tattoo of a butterfly on your shoulder. You want to get that removed? Come in for a consultation for us to take a look at it. And then if the person came in, they would mark that as a booking, right? Because once they got them in the door, they would say, hey, your first laser removal session is free. And I learned a whole bunch about laser removal from this process, but basically the more complicated your tattoo, the more sessions it takes to remove them. So some sessions required some tattoos required 3 sessions, some required 5. It just really depended on the tattoo, right? But they would say, hey, come in for a consult. Your first session is free. So that's how they would mark a booking. They would classify a booking. And then, but basically, again, Janet's job was to just follow up on all these leads every single day, call, email, whatever. And the cycle would repeat. Basically, they would just keep doing this until the customer said, hey, I'm not interested, or the customer would book. So that was basically their current workflow. And the owner was, smart enough to say, hey, there's got to be a better way to do this. So what was the financial ROI for this system that I built for them? Well, they told me on average they get 79 leads per month. And based upon the automation I built for them, it brought in on average 33 new bookings per month. So they were converting those leads into bookings. And my system, they were keeping track of all this themselves, but I was able to see that they were bringing in 33 new bookings per month that were attributed to the automation system. Now their average booking, again, depending on the tattoo, it'd be 1 session, 5 sessions, 6 sessions, whatever. But on average, the bookings were coming to around $356 per booking. So if you take 33 times 356, you get over $11,000 per month on average of new revenue. Pretty cool, right? It's a great ROI. Time ROI, as I mentioned in the intro, they told me that it was saving their staff 12 hours per month. So 12 hours, so like a day and a half, right? A day and a half of work was redeemed through this automation system. So the bonus ROI then is if the staff are not doing the manual copy paste and calling these leads as often, they have more time for one-on-one human-to-human interactions, which would lead to better customer service and most likely better revenue. So this is what they were currently doing, and this is the ROI of the system. So let me show you the system. Okay, so here we are in Make.com. I want to walk you through this scenario and show you exactly how it works. And we're going to test it first to show you that it does work, and then I'm going to walk you through all the modules. So here on my website, goodworks.ai, I have a contact form. So I'm going to simulate this being my client's contact form. So I'll just put in my name, not Bruce, not Bruns, Bruce Wayne. Let's see. We'll use my email address because I want to get the email to go out to the right person. We'll do 555. Hey there, heard about your AI automation services. I was curious if you were hiring and would love, I can't type, love to connect. Okay, so there we go. There is the contact form. So this is sort of like what my client has on their website, contact form, hit submit. Okay, there we go. So now the form has been submitted, and then there's an email in my inbox, which will have that email in it. Okay, so there is the email that came into my inbox. It says you got a form submission, but here's all the important information right here on your submitted content. Okay, so now we have to figure out how to get that information from the email to the spreadsheet. So let's go to the spreadsheet and see what that looks like. So here is a spreadsheet that I set up. It has first name, last name, email, phone message, timestamp, and status. Okay, so there's the basic spreadsheet. And now let's go back to the workflow. So now let's walk through how this works. So this first module watches for emails. So the way this works is you can set this up on a schedule. For example, every 15 minutes. Let's go to the schedule real quick and see what the options are. So every 15 minutes, every 5 minutes, however you want to do it. You can do it once per day at a specific time. You could do it every day at a specific time. You could do specific days of the week. There's all sorts of different options. But basically what you do is you set up the scenario to work or to run at a set number of times per day. And then every time you do that, it's going to go check for a new email in the inbox. And if I click on Gmail, so I just have a basic query filter here that says I'm looking for emails where the from value equals no reply at forms@webliflow.com, which is, if we go back to my email, that's this email address right here, no reply forms@webflow.com. So that's my filter. So it's only going to grab emails that come from my website. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is, well, I tell you what, let's just run it first and show you how it works. So I right click and say choose where to start. I'll select the email that I want to, so 726, yep, that's the one I did just now. I'll click on it, hit save, and I'll hit run once. And then you see that the scenario is running right now. Yep, tools and, oh yeah, so what I did here is I put a sleep module and now it's sending an email. Perfect. So now that it's run, we should be able to go to our spreadsheet, and there it is. We see that Bruce Wayne is the name. There's the email, the phone number. There's the message. There's a timestamp, and the status is new. And if you look there in my email, let's see here, you'll see that the email came through. And what does the email say? It says, "Hi, Bruce. Thank you for reaching out and showing interest in our automation services. I'm thrilled to hear that you're considering joining our team. At the moment, we are always on the lookout for talented individuals. I'd love to connect further and discuss any potential opportunities that might align with your skills and interests. Could you please share a little bit more about your background and experience? We can then explore any suitable roles. Looking forward to hearing from you. Thanks, Jonathan." So that entire email was written by AI. I didn't write that. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Pretty cool, right? All right, so let's go back to our workflow. So the first thing we saw, again, was the email. It's going to look for any new emails coming into my inbox. And then we have this text parser, which is using regular expressions or regex, R-E-G-E-X, regular expressions, to parse the email. If you go back to the email, we have this information, right? So we have all this other information. So how do we just extract what we want? Well, that's where the power of regular expressions comes in. And so let me show you what it looks like here. I'll copy paste. If you've never used regular expressions before, it's not too bad, because you can use ChatGPT to help you write regular expressions. So basically what this is doing is it's extracting the contact name, the contact email, the phone number, and the message. It's extracting it out of that email message. In fact, if we go back to our workflow and click on this little number 1 here, you'll see, even though the input was this entire email text, the output from the text parser is Bruce Wayne, email, phone number, and message. So the regular expression is extracting specific information from the email for us. Now that we have the information, what are we going to do with it? Well, the first thing you see is that in our spreadsheet, we have 2 columns, first name and last name, but in the text parser, in my contact form, I only ask for name. So how do we split the first name and the last name into 2 separate columns? Well, to do that, we're going to create a variable, a couple of variables within make. We have first name and last name. So here's 2 variables that we're creating. And the way we're going to do it is we're going to use a function called split. And the split function takes in some text, and then you tell it what the delimiter is, or in other words, what is the thing that is dividing the 2 pieces of information that you want. So if it was Bruce, comma, Wayne, instead of space, you would put a comma there, because the comma is the delimiter. It's the thing that's separating the 2 pieces of information that you want. But in our case, it's a space. So we're going to use space. And then we're going to use another function called first, because split is going to give us back an array. And first is going to give us the first part of it, which would be Bruce. And then down here, we'll have another function we'll use called last, which will give us the last part of the name, which would be Wayne. So when we get done with this, we should have 2 variables. And if we click on the number 1, we'll see, there we go. First name, Bruce, last name, Wayne. Perfect. So now we've got our name broken out into first name, last name. Now we want to add that data to a spreadsheet. So I added a Google Sheets module to the canvas. I'll click on it. And as you see here, we're just taking in the value for first name, which is coming from this module here. Same with last name. And then for email, phone, and message, we're grabbing it from the text parser. Notice as I hover my mouse over the text parser part, it's over here on the left, you see the text parser is kind of like vibrating or growing and shrinking. I'm not sure what it's doing there. It's bouncing. It's bouncing, showing you what module it's referencing. And if I can do the same thing over here with sheets. If you watch right here, not sheets, with variables, I hover my mouse over the purple part, the purple module is bouncing. And if I hover over the Gmail section, it's now bouncing. Okay, so that's a good indicator to know where you're grabbing the information from. So email, phone, message, and then we're going to put a timestamp in there. So now is just representing right now, which is date and time. And we're going to format it so it looks prettier in our spreadsheet. And then the status is going to be new. And you can make this whatever you want. My client, in my client's situation, they would mark it as need to book. But you can mark this whatever makes sense for your organization. Okay, so now that we've got the information in the spreadsheet, which is what we have here, the next thing we need to do is send out the reply back to the lead. Now, this is important because there's a concept called speed to lead. And I think the stats I read online is that when you respond to a lead within the first, I think, 3 minutes, the conversion rate is much higher because you've responded to them. If you wait too long, the lead might go somewhere else, or they might find a different vendor. So it's important that you respond quickly, but you don't want to respond too quickly because it seems like it's automated. And so the trick here is to try to delay the sending of the email to maybe 2 to 3 minutes. So it kind of seems like a human read the email, wrote a reply, and sent it back to you. And so to simulate the delay, I have a sleep module here, and I just have it for 5 seconds for demo purposes, but you can make this 60 seconds or whatever, however you want to do it. So let's talk a little bit about the writing of the email using AI. So I'm using ChatGPT. You could use Claude or Perplexity or whoever you want to use for your LLM. But for me, I'm using ChatGPT. So the very first role that we're defining here, let me see if I can, yeah, there we go. The very first role I'm defining is the system role. So here's my prompt. You are a friendly, helpful writing assistant. And for context, users are filling out a contact form and submitting data on my website. Task. Your job is to write an appropriate email response in a warm and friendly tone. Start the email with the user's name. For example, Dear John. End the email with my name, like this. Example. Thanks, Jonathan. Format the email using appropriate HTML tags, such as paragraph tags and break tags. This is important because when we send the email, we want it to be formatted properly. If you don't do this, it'll all be on one line. So we're using HTML to format the email so it looks more presentable and it looks like a human wrote it. And then here's an example. Hi, John. Put in a break. Here's the email body wrapped in paragraph tags. Thanks, Jonathan. Okay, so there is the role of the developer and system. And then what is the role of the user, which is you, or in the context of like if you were using ChatGPT, you are the user. What information are you, what's the prompt that you're sending to the system? And all I'm doing is passing in the user's name and the message from the form. So see number right here says number 4, hey there, heard about your automation services. That's the message I'm sending to the AI. And then I'm passing in their first name, which is over here. Okay, so that's a very basic example of using AI, ChatGPT, to write an appropriate email response. Then again, we have a delay, and then we send the email. Now, for my purposes, I put in my own personal email address, but I could just as easily swap that out with the email that came in from the form by just dragging it over here like that. And then I can change the subject to whatever I want to say. And then here's the result. The result, again, as I hover over result, you see the AI module is bouncing. So that tells me it's pulling from that module. The result is the message that the AI wrote for me, which is right here. And then we're sending this email. Now, something else you could do, if you're not quite confident yet with AI and the way it writes messages, you could, instead of sending the email right away, you could just create a draft. So that's an option if you want to keep human in the loop as you're writing your emails. Okay, so that's basically it. That's basically the system that I built for my client. That was really helpful to them because, again, they get leads all the time. They get leads that come in all hours of the night, all hours of the day. And this handles a lot of the auto-responding for them and nurturing those leads. Now, the other parts of this system that I built for my client that's not shown here is basically just they also included some text messaging services, and I have other scenarios that run for them that say, hey, every day at 3:30, for example, go through all the leads and see which leads have not booked. And if they haven't booked yet, then send them a text reminder that they need to book. And then, if the user replies stop, then the system catches that, and then we don't text them anymore. So don't keep bothering them. Okay, so that is basically the system that I built for them that was so successful with this client. And so if you're drowning in leads, this is a great way to stay on top of that. So if you want access to this exact workflow, this scenario that I built in Make.com, it is available. You can click on the link in the description below. You can access it in my school community. Go in there and you'll see YouTube resources, and you'll find this exact blueprint. You can download it for yourself, import it into Make.com, and then you're off for the races. Okay, I hope that video was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.